Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel, and welcome to my 2024 reading journal flip through. Got my reading journal for 2024 here, fully completed, or I should say mostly completed, but we'll go through it as we go through this video. I have a mid-year flip through video where I show you the first half of this reading journal, so we'll be going through the first half a little bit faster and then the second half a little bit slower, so I will link that video in the cards and in the description of this video. But without further ado, let's get into it. Grab a drink. I've got some tea here because we're going to be talking for a while. As for my journal, this is an 8x8 square journal by Archer and Olive. I have it in this cloth bound cream color with this postage, not embroidered, but I guess stamped on stamp. And this is a 160 page journal, I believe, and I have yet to finish any of these journals. I have, I think, about 15 pages left in this one, but I'm always scared I'm going to finish it before the end of the year. But I think for the most part, this is definitely more than enough pages for me. So let's get into it. Also, before I start flipping through this journal, just note that most likely my reviews in here are going to contain spoilers for each book, so proceed with caution when reading any of the reviews if you're interested, but just so you guys don't get spoiled by any of my reviews. My first page here was pretty straightforward and simple. It is just my 2024 reading journal, I guess, title page. I still love the way that this turned out. Very, very happy with this spread. Then I actually used this kind of weird page in this journal that, because of the binding, it's just a weird page to decorate. In my 2025 journal, I actually just glued these two pages together because I just could not bother. But here I just put a quote: "You can never get a cup of tea large enough or a book long enough to suit me." This is a C.S. Lewis quote. Then we've got my index that is now pretty much completed. So I just put basically key pages in here. I don't put each book that I've reviewed in here, what corresponding page it's on. I just separate it by, all of my spreads and then my months in any extra pages here. And then we have my rating system. I did not put this page in my 2025 reading journal. I know what my rating system is. I really don't need a reminder of it, but yeah, it was a nice spread to have for the 1 year. Then we've got my 2024 goals. So here's, I guess, a sneak peek of my goals and how I did last year. Some of them I accomplished, some I did not. And for my reading tracker, I had a goal for 100 pages. I only got to 95. I love seeing these filled out by the end of the year. We have such strong ambitions at the beginning of the year that for me sometimes diminish by mid to end year, and it just, I guess, is the way of setting goals sometimes. The next page is my bookshelfie. I love the way this turned out. Of course, I did not reach my goal, so I have a couple spaces empty. These are all the books I read this year, all 95. At least it should be all of them. I could have done a little bit better job for some of these, but some days I just was not feeling it, and other days I felt inspired to really make the spines look very similar to the books themselves, but other days not so much. Then we've got my book log. So this is where I put in every single book I've read, the title, author, genre, the dates I read the book, if I read it as an audiobook, ebook, or a physical copy, and my rating. So I used up 3 out of 4 of my pages. So actually, this made me then condense this down to 3 pages in my 2025 reading journal. Then we've got my stats. We're getting into the stats, which is the best pages to look at the end of the year, I think. So we've got my yearly stats of how many books I read, how many pages, how many books I read as an audiobook, ebook, and physical, how many I DNF'd, my average rating per month, and then how many books I bought. And then my year in pixels. This is the first time I actually did a my year in pixels, and I think it's so cool to see. Like, you can see the beginning of the month usually is a little bit of a rough start, and then I get a lot kind of in the middle, I don't know, it's kind of all over the place. But it's really interesting to see how many pages I read a day and which months are more. Definitely February was my most. I know July I read my least amount. Then we've got my monthly ratings, so similar to my other stats, how many books I rated each star or 0.5 star, and then at the end of the year, how many total. And then my genre tracker. Oh, you can see, I should erase that. I was tallying up how many were in each category to get my stats for the year. But for sure, I read mostly romance, then fantasy, then fiction, classics and memoirs were tied together, and then kind of everything else was around 4 to 3 to even less books. This would have looked amazing, but I haven't had the time to print out copies of each book page, and so yeah, this is my best book of 2024 book bracket spread. So this is where you take your favorite book of each month and they kind of battle it out until you decide what your favorite book of the year is. So my favorite book of the year is The Winners, but maybe I can do some editing and show you how it would look like digitally, because I, again, don't think I am going to print these out before I upload this video. So let me see if I can do some magic, and I will show you guys right now what it would look like if I had all the book spreads printed out. Then we move on to my 24 books in 2024. I read 15 out of 24 books. So the ones I did read, I outlined in this like beige brown color and obviously added in my rating. Then we got my 12 books from 12 Friends spread. This one did not turn out the way that I thought it would. I never even ended up getting 12 book recommendations from like close friends, but of the ones that I did get, I read 4 out of 8, so not too bad. Actually, I did start on Fire Island and I DNF'd it because I just couldn't get into it. So I guess technically 5 out of 8. Next, we've got my book bingo, which I guess did not get bingo because I didn't fill out all of them, but I only missed 3. I missed the read a book 1,000+ pages long, read a middle grade, and then read a book that was from my 23 and 2023 that I did not finish. But the rest I completed, so that was nice. Then we just got my book club spreads here. I did not read many of these books. Then we go to my series tracker, which I love the way this turned out. And I think at the beginning of the year, it was up till here. I didn't have all of these on this page. So I read a lot of series. I finished a lot of series, but I'm still in the middle of probably even more. So this is a spread that is also in my 2025 reading journal. Then we got my physical books read spread. So any books that I read from my physical TBR that I bought before 2024 was written down here. So it was a good way to keep track and kind of motivate me to read the books that I own. Got my 2024 new releases. I was good at keeping up with this in the beginning of the year. The second half of the year, not so much. But I still really liked having this spread to reference back to. And then my DNF graveyard. I only DNF'd one book, like hard DNF'd. I soft DNF'd a lot of books where I thought that maybe I would go back to them eventually. But this one, Cry About It, I'm not going back to that one. Then we get to my Slavic literature podcast, Life and Fate Chapter a Day Read Along. I dropped the ball on this. I think volume 2. I got to volume 2, and then life got in the way and I couldn't catch up. but for the third of Life and Fate that I did read, I really enjoyed it. And then we move on to my monthly spreads. So every month I do a title page of the month with a little TBR for the month, and I'll check mark off if I've read any of those books. So January, then we've got my monthly pages read and books read spread. This one is a mess to me. And then here we go. I gave Ruthless Vows, my first book of the year, 5 stars. Upon reflection, I would give this probably 4.5 stars, but at the time, it was the end of the series, and I was just I loved the first book so much that I had to give the second one 5 stars, but not so much. These Precious Days was also a magnificent book that I still think about. Like Water for Chocolate was such an unexpected book that I really liked. A Tale of Two Cities was fantastic. Before I Let Go, amazing. One of my top 10 books of the year. This Could Be Us was also amazing. And then I have my January wrap-up. So I have this also for every single month. A little wrap-up of the month of, what genres I read, how many books I read, etc., etc. Then we have this blank page that I was going to make a spread for my YouTube stats and never got to it. And I'm not going to get to it. Then we've got February. Love the colors of this one. And the crazy ambitious TBR. Don't know what I was on. February was the only month that I actually needed to add extra space for books. So that was fun. But again, so much pink, adored it. February was my month that I read the most amount of books. I think it was 13. I first started February off with reading and finishing the entire The Simple Wild series. This series was so good. So good, in fact, that I made a whole dedicated spread to it, a little shrine to it, and I love this so much. Then we got into the Omegaverse. So you'll see that in the next few pages. After reading Bride, had a blast. Me and my friend then read Ice Planet Barbarians. Interesting. Then I read Ice Planet Honeymoon and decided not to continue the series. Then I needed a break from the Omegaverse. So read a couple books in between. Loved Lizzie and Dante. If on a Winter's Night a Traveler was a little bit of a mind bender, but I really enjoyed it. Then we went back to the Omegaverse. And then we read Swift and Saddled, which was such a great book. And then East of Eden, which I loved. That breakdown gets me every single time. Then we've got March, which I adored the spread again. Love the green. That was a rough start in the beginning. Oh, I loved Tom Lake. I loved The Winners. These both made it to my top 10 of the year. This one, The Winners, is my favorite book of the year. Don't read this. Like, literally, I don't want anyone to be spoiled. Then I was in quite the reading slump. Actually, let me see. You wouldn't think I was in a reading slump by the end of the month, but yeah, beginning of the month for sure. Really bad book. Then we made it. Oh, it's because I DNF'd this book. It's all coming back to me now. Then we made it to April. I did a purple theme. In April, I read quite a bit of romance. Really enjoyed Just for the Summer. Annabelle Monaghan is a new auto-by author of mine. Finding Me, that was a wonderful memoir. Funny Story, The Rule Book, Magnolia Parks. I started that journey. Definitely would not give it 4 stars now. More like a 3. May, we did a blue theme. Really enjoyed how this one turned out as well. Wow, what happened there? What the heck? So we've got Daisy Hates, which I really like Daisy Hates books more than Magnolia Parks, that's for sure. Oh, this is when I tried doing my 24-hour readathon. Didn't really turn out that great. The Hobbit was such a good book. Knife, amazing memoir as well. And then we made it to June. Oh, I really like this as well. This like sunflower yellow theme. Oh, wow, I really did not read many books in June. These were all meh. A Room with a View, though, was a really great book. The Wicked King, I really enjoyed. Not in Love, did not love. And then here I realized I forgot to do a Q1 wrap-up, so I added both Q1 and Q2 to just a big spread together. And then here we have July. I don't know why this is blank. I don't know if I had any plans for this page. I don't know. This is like a pinkish, salmon-y theme. Here we read Summer Romance. I loved that book. Foxglove was such a great book as well. Road of Bones and a novel love story. Horrible. Oh yeah, this was my least books read in a month in 2024. Then we moved to August. Don't really know what this theme was. Oh, the end of August was not very good. We read Ruin and Rising. So happy to have finished that series. Oh, and then I finished the Cruel Prince trilogy. Loved that book. Slaughterhouse-Five. Oh, The Sun Also Rises. This is one book that I was really debating between this one and East of Eden to be in my top 10, but East of Eden won. But The Sun Also Rises was such a good book. I can tell I changed my pen. I think I started using another fountain pen. Then we read Emma. That was great. Red Rising was a little bit disappointed with that one. Meet Me at the Lake was such a great redemption after Every Summer After. And then Braiding Sweetgrass, one of my favorite books of 2024. And The Little Liar. Oh, this poor page. It's just empty. This is a good breakdown, like a mix, you know? Then we get into my fall TBR. So this is the actual first quarterly or seasonal TBR I included in my journal. Loved how this turned out. I actually did a pretty decent job too. Then we make it to September. This theme is all over the place. September, wow. These are 4 bangers right after one another. We've got My Brilliant Friend, which is one of my favorite books of the year. Wild Eyes, which is probably my favorite out of this series so far. What I talk about when I talk about running, a wonderful memoir by Haruki Murakami, and Demon Copperhead, one of my favorite books of the year as well. Then we moved on to A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. I finished this in one day. I think it might be the only book that I finished in one day, other than like short stories. Then we have The Year of Magical Thinking. That one was a great book as well, or memoir. These two, not so much. October, my birthday month. Wow, I don't know what was going on in here either. We read Wisteria, which made it to my top 10 of the year. Drive Your Plow Over the Bones of the Dead by Olga Tokarczuk. This one was also such a fascinating read. I really want to read more of her work. Then we read The Third Gilmore Girl, My Girl with Kelly Bishop. Some wonderful memoir. Then we read The House Across the Lake. Hated that book. We read Rouge. This one was a great book. I need to pick up more of Mona Awad's work because I've loved her books so far. None of them have gotten 5 stars, but I really liked Bunny and I really liked Rouge. Then we've got Dark Matter, which was a little bit disappointing. Everything I Know About Love, didn't really like that one as well. And then Check and Mate, pleasantly surprised about this one. November. This is a cute one. We did a dual washi tape. Very cute, very cute. Oh, I remember starting off the month with The Answer Is No, and I was so happy. This was such a sweet surprise and a beautiful short story. Then I read Intermezzo, which was one of my favorite books of the year. I really wish I had more space. I should have made a whole spread for this one because I have so many quotes from this book that I love looking back at. Then we read Feel Good Productivity and Lost and Lassoed, one of my favorites of the series so far. Spectacular, that was okay. Out on a Limb was such a treat. I am surprised at how much I love that book. Then we read Vengeful, not as good as Vicious. So that's that. And then I started my Throne of Glass journey, which I started with The Assassin's Blade, and I really liked it, actually. Very surprised. Then the last month of the year, we've got December. Listen, I was determined to reach my reading goal for the year, and I made a massive TBR, and it fell through. I love the way this turned out, though. So cute. I started off the month with Just Last Night. Did not like it that much. Then I read the rom-commers. Really did not like it. But then Love Light Farms came and saved the day because I loved Love Light Farms. Then we've got Dinner for Vampires. And as you can see here in my new reading journal, I'm actually changing from using my stamps all the time to using my own writing. So I was a little too lazy to bring out my stamps, and I just decided for the rest of them I'm gonna start, practicing my lettering and calligraphy. So anyways, besides that, I read Dinner for Vampires, which was a memoir, and it was amazing. Then I read The Love of My Afterlife, which was it was cute. A Novel Christmas, which was a great Christmas romance, but a forgettable one. Then I read The Gift of the Magi, which was an adorable short story about giving and Christmas spirit and what you do for the people you love. And then I finished off the year reading The 12-Week Year, which is a nonfiction book about productivity, I guess you could say, and I enjoyed it. We have my December wrap up. I thought about making a top 10 spread here, but then I lost the motivation, to be honest. But I do have my Q3 and Q4 wrap up. Q4 was definitely a lot stronger than Q3. And then we have my Books of 2024 spread. This is the last spread in my reading journal where I basically put every single book that I read in order. And it is such a fun spread to look back on. Again, I'm missing just not too many, but a couple of book pages or title pages. And then that's it. So I have just, 10 pages here left. And then in the back pocket, I have all the extra book covers of the books that I did read and I don't need extra covers of. I always include them in the journal that corresponds to that year, just in case I need them for future spreads, but I most likely don't need them, but I don't want to throw them out, so I just keep them in here. But that is my entire 2024 reading journal. So, thank you guys for watching. Let me know what your reading journal looked like for 2024. I really enjoyed my 2024 reading journal, and every year I think it's going to be my favorite journal. And yet, every new year, I start loving my reading journal even more. So I have a full setup for my 2025 reading journal if you are interested in seeing how that turned out. It's a bit different than my 2024 reading journal. It's still an 8x8 Archer and Olive, but but the vibe is a bit different. It's a bit different. So hope you guys enjoyed watching, and I will see you all in my next video very, very soon. Bye.